Hello, everyone, and welcome to the SAG-AFTRA podcast. I'm Duncan Crabtree Ireland, National Executive Director and Chief Negotiator of SAG-AFTRA. And I am thrilled to be joined by somebody who has transformed how millions of people engage with current events. V. Spear. V is the creator of Under the Desk News, which has become Gen Z and millennials' go-to source for news, reaching over 3 million loyal followers. And V is also the host of American Fever Dream, a new podcast that's just launched. And throughout their career, V has been a powerful advocate for workers' rights, bringing their signature style of making complex issues accessible. And boy, we need that now more than ever. V, welcome to the podcast.
Thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
So, V, you started your career in the food industry. What's the origin story of Under the Desk News? I have to know.
Yeah, like all little girls who want to grow up and be in the food industry, I originally started wanting to be on Broadway. And then, you get one job in a Manhattan restaurant and sooner be known to you, you're like sous chef. And so that's how it goes. So I started off in the restaurant business and private events and catering and high-end restaurant and worked my way all the way up to being at the James Beard Foundation, where I was doing things like helping review the food policies and small business policies that affect restaurants, negotiating stuff for the Farm Bill. And then the pandemic came and I got furloughed. And that was devastating. So at that time, all my friends were chefs and they were making TikToks. I'd never heard of this before. And just cooking and trying to show people how to use stuff in your pantry. So I started cooking and showing people how to apply for PPP loans and shuttered venue licenses and still trying to help folks. And one day, a couple months into having that account, I was watching television and I was like, that looks like an insurrection. And surely it was. It was January 6th. And I went from my kitchen, dove under my desk, and explained the 25th Amendment to Mike Pence. And that was the first TikTok that went really well. And people were like, oh, because they were in a crisis and they wanted to know that something could happen. And this idea of the 25th Amendment or how they call in the National Guard. And my friend Randy was like, you better get back under that desk and explain to people what's going on now. And it's been 4 years. So I just kept telling people what was happening and they kept coming back for more. And so now I'm like a heavily awarded journalist, I guess. I don't know. I stumbled into journalism.
I mean, that's so great. And, honestly, before you and I ever met, I had, the TikTok algorithm had served up Under the Desk News to me. So I had seen that and I was immediately struck by just how interesting it was because it was like almost the physicality of being physically, for those who haven't seen, go on TikTok, check it out.
We're
literally under the desk. It's not just metaphorically, it's literally. And it just it attracted my attention and I was listening to it. I just think, it's emblematic of the kind of creativity that we really see from folks who are content creators. And it's one of the reasons why, for me, when I talk to members, let's say SAG-AFTRA members, who may not immediately understand why SAG-AFTRA is looking to bring the creator community into the SAG-AFTRA community. From my point of view, it's really the same community to begin with. It's a different platform, but it's the same special creative talent. That's one of the reasons why, for me, I'm very eager to see us continue to build our membership in the content creator and influencer world because to me it really syncs right up with what SAG-AFTRA is all about.
I mean, TikToks, YouTubes, they're all basically short films, right? Or for me, it's a short news broadcast at night. And people are looking for the things they look for in any kind of media: a predictable universe, characters that they love, a story they can understand, and the rise and release that all types of theater and creativity give us. That, whether that's starting low and going into a scary story, and then I always try to end on a funny story. We do Good News Only every Thursday. That's predictable. And I think about how many professional actors do also exist in the content creator world. And if you think of Francesca, who's a SAG member, she is also now known as the leopards eating my face lady. And it's as soon as you see that ukulele out, you are excited, even though you've heard the song a million times. It's a predictable, sing-along, joyful relief that she gives people through that particular lens that she's performing for. Or you watch her on, one of her sitcoms on television that she's on, and you're like, okay, I'm seeing the person that I love from TikTok in this other medium. You see her in a commercial and you get excited. And I think it's that recognizability and that place where we can cheer for you as we see you across all these different types of screens. That is something that I hope people who maybe didn't think there was a place for them in social media can recognize. This is just one more special skill on your resume.
Absolutely. That's so true. And we are definitely seeing that convergence. I mean, there is a creator who happened to create and successfully pitch and have a series on one of the major streaming services that's been intensely cross-promoting between the two platforms very successfully from what I understand. And so I think there is a common convergence. And likewise with our influencer agreement, our influencer waiver under the commercials contract, recognizing that the way advertising and commercial promotions work is evolving. And that's part of this community too. I mean, we're getting ready to negotiate our commercials contract starting mid-February of next year. And, a lot of people, when they think about SAG-AFTRA, they think about the film and television contract, but the commercials contract, the earnings on the commercials contract are as large as the earnings under film and TV. It is a very important source of work for our members. And that intersection is part of the evolution of the industry, I really feel.
Well, and I know a lot of people who are social media folks are doing well in commercials now. That seems to be like a pretty good jump, especially we just had a whole round of holiday commercials, right? And I recognize so many people from TikTok in these holiday commercials alongside Kelly Clarkson and other big names, and you get excited for them. And I know also the other side of this is that a lot of folks are like, look, I graduated from like Juilliard, man. I don't want people asking me how many followers I have before they accept my slate. And I hear you on that. And I think that's something that we can educate the industry at large to understand, that having big numbers on social media sometimes doesn't translate to being good on a bigger screen or a different screen. So it's not about trying to like homogenize and be like all entertainment, all screens are all the same, so much as like, what are my goals as a performer and as a creator, and what are the places that I want to be recognized as, and how much time do I want to dedicate to those things? Because being a TikToker is a full-time commitment. I have to have the news by 7. I have to have breaking news when it happens. I have to be in that predictable universe. I have to get my hair cut every other weekend. Like there's things that people expect from you that you can't just, sort of like wing it. But I think training folks to understand that like different roles need different special skills. And I do think that a lot of the entertainment world right now is looking for that social media connection, not just to prove that you have the chops to be the performer, but to prove that you attract a certain kind of audience. Will they buy your book? Will they get a movie ticket? Will they tune into your show? Will they get the streamer to watch you on whatever? And that's always been part of proving that, you're the right person for the role.
Well, one of the things that our news and broadcast team it's a battle they've been fighting for a number of years, is these stations' idea that they want to own the social media accounts of those individuals, of those reporters, those creative talents.
You can do
and that's something that we fought to block that in collective bargaining, because from our point of view, obviously that's outrageous. And the following that those people are developing is based on their talent, not just based on the particular station there. And and a lot of times that's used really to try and hold them back from moving on to somewhere else. It's a way of creating a non-compete without actually creating a non-compete. And so these are battles that we fight.
That has certainly happened to me. There's been several times that a major news outlet has wanted to buy Under the Desk. The first time it happened to me, I started to cry because I was like, I don't want to sell it. Do I get to keep it? Like, I don't know. I was like panicked because like the chairman of NBC is looking at you and I'm like, oh my God, like am I supposed to sell it? I didn't know that's what we were here for today. And, you just don't. A job is a job, even if it's a big job and network news somewhere. They don't own your free time. They don't own your intellectual property outside of the things that they've paid you to research and do the story for them, right? So the connection you have with your audience on your social media channels is part of you as a whole person outside of you, the person who is anchoring or performing or doing news on television. And I'm going to tell you, they will give you a carve out. Hold out. They're going to threaten you. They always do. They give you a carve out and you make sure that it's every single one of your personal channels. It's any sort of like nickname you have for the channel. Like when I did my back and forth by myself contracts, I was careful to say Vitasphere, vSphere, Under the Desk News, UTDN News, all is separate. Any merch, any licensing, any past, present, future videos, all of that. Any impromptu. You also can't approve what I do on my social media contracts, which they came back and said, well, how will you meet the standards and morality clauses? And I was like, because I will, because you already came to me because you saw the work that I did. Everything that I do in the future will be in line with this. you got to be careful. And that's why I'm glad that you guys are out there to do those hard negotiations, because for a lot of people who are independent, you're trying to do that all by yourself and you don't even know what questions to ask or what things to redline in a contract. And I learned kind of the hard way.
Yeah. You mentioned Good News Thursdays, and I don't want to let it pass because, one of the things that can be so challenging is with the world in the state that it's in, a lot of people just feel overwhelmed or almost depressed by what they're seeing in the news. And you mentioned it, but I wonder if you talk just a little bit more about how you balance that, because I think you're known as somebody who presents these tough issues, but in a way that doesn't leave you just like devastated at the end of listening to a news story, which can happen so much these days. So talk a little bit about how you do that.
So I get criticized a lot for, quote, not being objective or showing too much emotion. I've cried during broadcasts before. Not crazy cried, but like you get choked up because some of the stuff you have to say is really sad or really difficult. And there's been folks from trad media or legacy media who have been like, you're never going to have a career because you're too emotional or you're not objective enough. And what I learned from my activism and organizing years that came before this was like, that often favors the oppressor, right? That often favors the power structure if you're going to both sides every single thing. So I just am honest and transparent with my audience, and they know that there are certain topics that I obviously have a vested interest in, and I'm not going to be able to take that off to deliver news to you, and that's just not what we do here. So I set that expectation, and I'm transparent. If we're talking about women's bodily autonomy, there is no way for me to both sides that, right? I can't do that. And when people have to do that because they're delivering the news on legacy media in some form, I think that's what bums people out, because they watch someone that they want to feel like they can empathize with, straight face, tell a terrible story. And they're like, wow, they're really cold. They don't see it as objective. They see it as cold or on the side of the bad guy or whatever. And the luxury I've been afforded is being able to use my own voice and my emotions to tell a story in the way that I think is most authentic. And the audience recognizes that's the contract we've made with each other, and they receive it that way. I also don't believe in like hooking people. I've never had to like shock and awe or scary somebody up front to get them to listen to me, because I took the time to build out trust with the audience. And I also don't have a goal of having 10 million followers. 3 is a lot. And I'm responsible for that community, and I'm responsible for, I feel a responsibility to them. They call themselves the dust bunnies. They're like my little kittens. But when something's going to be bad, I'm like, it's going to be bad. We have an answer. It's going to be bad. There's no answer yet. We're just in the middle of it. Sometimes you're just in the middle of the bad. And I'm going to tell you what you need to know to prepare you, not scare you. And I don't expect that all news people are going to deliver news that way, certainly. But I think that has been the success to Under the Desk, the Mr. Rogersing of it all. That this is a very difficult topic, and I'm going to sort of gently expose you to it and make you feel smart through it, and also let you know, by way of the fact that we are in a confined space under a desk, that this is me talking just to you, okay? And you're safe right now while you hear this, so that people don't get all worked up and start to panic. But that's my show, and not everybody's show will do that, but that's how mine's done.
And then how do you bridge the gap from that to like pure advocacy, maybe? I mean, because you also, you are an advocate, and you've been very effective using social media as an advocacy tool. So any advice you can give people on how to bridge that gap, maintain authenticity, but also be able to do both of those things?
I'm a person first, and I think that's what I've always thought about that. Coming from the restaurant industry, you're used to getting fired or quitting or moving jobs like quite a lot. That's like pretty common. So anytime I hit a road where I'm like, well, this could be the end of my media career, oh well, I'll just go back to the kitchen. And I just know that I have to do the right thing. I have to tell people to not cross the picket line during the SAG and writer's strike over the summer that year. What did we learn from the railway strike when Biden jumped in and used the powers that he has to end a strike? It didn't work out for anybody, right? Biden, please don't do that. Let the port workers just give him 5 more minutes. Just give him 5 more minutes. And then what happened? They worked it out. And he looked good, and they got what they wanted. And the people in power maybe didn't get what they want, but we worked it out, right? And the people were with them. And I think in those moments, for me, maybe delusionally, nothing matters more than taking care of the people that take care of us, whether that's the firefighters union, whether that's the people who make movies that I like to see and escape with, or the folks at John Deere, or the folks at Starbucks, or the folks who don't have a union right now but are trying to say, hey, does this industry of cottage makers need a union? Could we get one? Are we being exploited in some way? What power do we have in a collective? How would we do that? What would that look like? Would anybody take us in? So sometimes you just got to find like a big brother or big sister union and be like, hey, can you like tell us about the stuff that you've learned? Are you interested in our cause? Do you think we've got a case? And I think you'll find that union people love to help other people start a union or tell them what we've learned. And so for me, the place where content and news and all of that breaks off is when there is a public emergency. And I think that there was certainly a public emergency when it comes to negotiating, jobs for hundreds of thousands of people.
Yeah. I mean, we've had a number of public emergencies since the founding of Under the Dust News.
Yeah,
really.
it seems like a lot.
Yeah.
And something that I've said before too is the strike is in some ways a failure. It's a failure of us to be able to get things done in a kind and compassionate and thoughtful and streamlined way. Strike is the last thing that we want to happen. We know that strikes hurt people. We know that they're difficult. It's not ideal. We don't want to get to strike, but if people don't listen, sometimes that's the only way that we can do it. And I think sometimes now with younger activists, what I'll see is them be like, well, we'll just go on strike. And I'm like, wait, not yet though. Let's look at, I know if you're 22, you maybe can swing it, but I got people here with like 4 kids. Okay. Like I can't do that to them. And so, having patience, being in the labor and organizing and union work when it's really boring, when like you're just going to your town hall meeting or when you're just paying dues and things are going great, some folks can get really disillusioned and think, well, why do I need this anymore? And it's like, you need it so that it stays easy. We don't need it to always be hard to be doing good work. And I hope that, in the next 10 years, let's say, as younger people are more and more interested in unionizing and really understanding the power of labor, that we get to a point where we're not seeing as many strikes. We're not seeing as many, catastrophic negotiation situations. And we're not seeing the wage and wealth disparity as difficult as it is now. And I hope we get to a place where unioning is boring.
Maybe. I mean, it could happen.
They just respect us so much.
But, I really appreciate you saying what you said about strikes because, I've been asked a lot since 2023, should we always have a strike authorization when we start bargaining? And my answer to that is no.
Right.
The answer is it's a strategic decision that is case by case because we're not looking to go on strike ever. We're looking to make the right deal. We're looking to make a fair deal. A strike is the ultimate tool that we might have to use, hopefully not, to get there. And in the case of SAG-AFTRA, it had been 40 years since we've been on strike in that contract. So it's not like we were going on strike every cycle or every other cycle.
It's a very serious thing.
It is a very serious thing, and it did cause a lot of harm to people. Mm-hmm. But I think our leadership, and certainly I believe, we had to do what we did.
Yeah.
There was no alternative because the companies wouldn't do what we needed them to do, especially on AI, but also on wages, without it. And we tried. It's not like we didn't try. So I really
and then they
feel
thought that they would come to the creators when you guys went on strike during premiere season. And this is how I actually met Duncan. You guys were going on strike and the studios were coming to creators and they were offering them all kinds of money and trips and stuff to come and do the premieres because the big stars weren't going to be going anymore. And I made a TikTok. I was like, I need y'all to listen to me, the most trusted voice on the internet. You cannot cross the strike line. And people were like, really? I don't want to do that then. And we stood in solidarity, and those folks had nothing to earn really from it other than the fact that we wanted to, of course, respect the people in the industry that we love who make all of the content that we love. And one thing I appreciate about you is I would like send Duncan, I'd be like, you have to talk to this kid, okay? He just gave up like his life dream of going to this particular movie premiere, to stand in solidarity with you. And you took all that time while also taking care of your people to take care of the people who were just supporting you. And I think that is such a testament to your leadership.
Well, I can't tell you how much it meant to me and really to everyone, to all of the leadership of SAG-AFTRA, to SAG-AFTRA members on the picket lines. Like every day I was out there, and members were just so appreciative of the fact that creators were standing in solidarity with us, especially non-member creators who could have used this as their opportunity to, get in good with these companies or make extra money or do things that they've always wanted to do that, hadn't happened before. And so if you're an actor, if you're a performer of any kind, it's an aspirational career, right?
Sure.
It's a really tough job. And you're always waiting for that moment of opportunity. And so I think that our members really understood what it meant to have that moment of opportunity come because somebody else was on strike, and for someone to say, that's not how I'm going to get this.
Right.
You know, I'm going to get my opportunity, but I'm not going to get it by undermining this effort. And you were the leader of this. We were talking, you came to me and to us and said, here's some things that y'all can do to help like acknowledge what's going on here and help empower the creator community. And I was so appreciative of that. And I appreciate creators so much for standing with our members during that time. And I promise you, I will never forget it. And our members will never forget it, because it was just a very, very powerful message that y'all were delivering.
And of course, creators being the creative people that they are, some of the best TikToks that we got were scenes from The Nanny featuring Fran, right? Of course, is your president, who, when she was on the show, The Nanny, there's an episode about her joining the strike line outside of the restaurant they were supposed to go in. And that became like the TikTok for everyone, this like full circle moment. And so, you know, you got to love, I love entertainment people. I love us.
Oh my gosh. You know, we do have, you know, amongst our podcast audience are creators as well. And I wonder if you could maybe just talk for a second about what it takes to create a sustainable career as a creator. Like, what tips would you give for someone who's maybe just starting out or, you know, trying to build that audience, and any ideas you can share with them for how to make that work?
It's harder than you think and easier than you think. And when you hit your thing, you will know. But copying someone else, being a better version of someone else, is never the way to go about trying to do it. So like, you might see somebody whose content you really like and you're like, I could do that. I could probably do it a little better. That's not usually like the best route for an idea for longevity in a career. It's about knowing how famous you want to be also. I only ever wanted to be medium famous. Like, I want to get recognized at the Wegmans, but I want to also like be able to go to my kids' dance recitals and stuff and be fine. And so, you know, you have to look at it and go, so often when we dream maximizing. And then when we fall short of that maximization along the journey, we give up, right? If I'm not a Broadway star by the time I'm 25, it's over for me. Well, some people don't become Broadway stars until they're in their 50s. But all the work they did along the way is why they became a Broadway star at 50. All those regional productions, all those paper mill playhouses, or whatever the case may be.
Right, the overnight success that's taken 10 years to achieve or more.
I was a chef. I was in restaurants. I was in politics. I was a grunt for 20 years. That's why I can talk about things the way that I do now. But people are like, oh, you just started being a journalist. I'm like, no. Like, I was in these streets, okay? And that's how I know these things. So I'd say when you think that this is a place where you want to be a creator, look at the different platforms and don't try to be the best on all of them. Each one has a different culture. Look at what's your skills and where you want to be, and then really commit to one. And I would say if you want to be a YouTuber, which is the highest, it's just like the highest class of creator. It's the hardest and it pays the best, but it's also the most saturated. So you got to keep that in mind too.
Right.
You know, what do you need to be a successful YouTuber? And there is, you know, a method to the cadence that you use there, the lighting that you have, the video editing that you do, the jumps that you have. If you want to be a TikToker, you want to fit into that culture too. You don't want to do a video that's longer than 90 seconds. I started with 15-second videos. Then I got people to watch me for 30. And then I was like, okay, maybe I could get them to watch me for 42 seconds. And now I'm up to 90. That's it, okay? And then maybe once a month I'll do a 5-minute one. And that's only if it's really important. But you got to know your audience. I know my audience watches me when they're in the bathroom and before they go to bed. So I make content for people who are in the bathroom and going to sleep. You know what I mean? Like, I know that that's where they are. So the other thing is, you may not know who your people are yet. I thought my audience would be, you know, queer, millennial lesbians. It's not. I have a huge male military audience. Just make the content that you love. Talk about the thing that you could rant about, that nobody could stop you, that you love talking about this thing, and your audience will find you when you put that light out there. But also recognize that there are stages to everything. There's an ebb and a flow. There are times when your content is hot and you're getting hundreds of thousands of views. There are times when I even get not that much. And I always think of it as like a turns-based system. When it's my turn, lights up, camera on. And then when it starts to be like, okay, people are sick of you, that doesn't mean they're sick of you forever, right? It's just somebody else's turn. Use that time to rest and reflect on what you've done before and come back and do it and just keep doing what you know is right. And that's how I do content creation, because it can be a very lonely very insecure kind of business. It's just you and your camera and your comments, you know? That's a dangerous place.
Listening to you, I'm hearing that a big part of it is actually sort of managing your own expectations and also making sure that you don't, take minor setbacks as, like
it's okay.
Existential.
Yeah, it's okay. Yeah. It's okay. You've been through worse than not having a video slap. You know what I mean? And the ones that you think are going to slap never do. Because for whatever reason, like you're like manifesting it. You're like, this is going to be the best video ever. And it like flops every time. And then I'll do something I don't care about at all and a million people see it.
Well, that's very demure, mindful.
It's very cutesy. Mindful. I mean, like Jules, like just was being herself, going to work.
Yeah, but you know what I also love is recently I saw a TikTok of hers where she said, everyone talks about my instant success rate, but I want to remind y'all, before Demure, I had 1 million followers.
Right.
So, there you go.
I think, and also, how long will you be a content creator for? When I started this career, I had no idea I was even starting it. I had no idea like what this would be about, and I've learned so much about the industry. But there are some people who, the thing that they're doing that's so special is really hot for maybe 3 months. And maybe that was it. And maybe there'll be another time when it's hot and you can do it again. But don't quit your job the first time you get 1 million views. Sometimes people also will be like, oh my God, my entire life has changed. And it's like, not yet. Like I'm 4 years in and I still every day wake up and go, I'm grateful for one more day. I got one more day out of it. And I think with any career in performing and entertainment, there's so much competition. People's tastes change so quickly. You want to just be grateful for what you have and treat it like that, as opposed to there is no job where you clock in and you go for 40 years and you clock out and get a pension. Like those days are kind of over, and the same is true for content creation. Might be something you don't like, might be something you only do a little while.
If you're working under a SAG-AFTRA contract, you will be getting a pension.
So you get a pension under there.
That's one of the wonderful things about unions and about this union in particular.
But you got to earn it every day, and I think that's really been the key to it. And also remember that the audience giveth, the audience taketh away. My editorial board is my audience. My producer is my audience. My everything is them, and so I continue to center them in the work that I do, and never get to don't drink your own juice, and you'll be okay.
Well, V, one other thing that you and I have in common is both of us have done quite a bit of advocacy for the LGBTQIA plus community. And, in the labor movement, it hasn't always been as diverse as it is now. I think
That's right.
I really applaud the AFL-CIO and Liz Shuler, Fred Redmond, and other leaders in the AFL-CIO who have made it a priority to bring in diverse communities, including the LGBTQIA community. And there's Pride at Work, which is the advocacy group within the AFL-CIO for the LGBTQIA community. But I'm just curious, I sort of, my early days of LGBTQIA advocacy were pre-social media. And one of the things that I've certainly noticed in social media, and some platforms more than others, but there can be a certain element of toxicity present. And so how do you, what do you do, and what advice would you give to other activists? And this, I think, is probably broadly applicable, but specifically LGBTQ plus activists, for how you stay centered and stay strong in doing that advocacy, even when there can be real toxic stuff coming back at you.
I think you have to keep one foot in the real world. So I'm an online digital creator, but all of my work isn't online. Probably maybe 30% of what I do in a day is online. And I think when you're in a young activist space, you need to go to what's happening in your town. Go to the coffee shop, look and see where there's going to be a meeting about whatever's going on, just to start to get used to activism, get used to listening to elders, get used to working with people who care about the same thing you care about, but maybe have a very different idea of how you achieve the common goal, and you need to be able to work with them. Because just because we all want, let's say, gay marriage, doesn't mean that we all decided that it was going to come the same way. There was a lot of people in infighting, in organizing that can happen when you're trying to hear everybody's side of things, and that can sort of stagnate the movement in some ways. I think for queer people in particular, everything we do online becomes fodder for the right or for other people to criticize or sort of make an example out of. So you need to balance, what am I doing for the mission, and is this the right platform to use? Because online can be a great place to get a big audience to recognize an issue, but you don't want to pull that lever every time. If your main issue is the way that the police are treating trans women in California prisons, then you need to focus with who's on the ground in California and start with them and give all of your support to that small local area. And then once you get it up enough, you can say, hey, I'm going to use online now to say, we have this many cases, this bad stuff has happened, and now we're asking you to write to the governor of California to, remove this warden, as an example. And so it doesn't happen from the top. You don't start with, we want the governor to do something. It's like they don't do anything until they have like overwhelming evidence and force. So I think the balance between in-person and online is great. And I also think you have to remember, as an organizer, you got to keep your secrets in your core group small. We want to include everybody's feelings, of course, and we want a big audience that supports us. But when it comes to like strategy and where the moves are going to be made, you don't necessarily want to put that online because your opposition will see it also. Like my mom used to say, put it in a note, read it on a billboard. Like, that's kind of what organizing is like. Some stuff you need to do in person, in a room, or in a Slack channel with people that you truly, genuinely trust, and then you can roll it out to a broader public. Because it's like, do I need people to do actions or do I need public support? And those aren't the same thing. And the problems that we have are not going to be solved by a TikTok.
And see,
even a viral one.
And it's refreshing to hear you say that, especially because obviously you have such a platform and presence in social media. But I completely agree with what you're saying. And I mean, I've experienced it myself where people who have said shocking things to me in online forums, then I meet them in person and it's almost like a different person. You know what I mean? Like it's
I'm
so
such
different.
A fan. I'm so sorry.
It's a but I think it really it can be amazingly powerful, and also in certain circumstances it can be dehumanizing. And so it's crucial to have both pieces.
Let me give you an example. So you will also get from your own people or from contrarians, because it's not a perfect world out there. There are a lot of contrarians, and people make a lot of money being contrarian. They make a lot of money just being a bummer. They get a ton of views being a bummer. And so I will get something like, I'm trying to advocate for the ERA to get signed. Mm-hmm. And then I'll be pushing and I'll be like, oh, I was in the Oval Office and asked him about it. And then it'll get somebody who's like, oh, V thinks they're so hot. Oh, they're so stupid. Oh, you know what? One time they said this thing that wasn't exactly right, and then a million people stitch it, and now you're like the greatest demon that ever happened. Or God forbid the thing you're advocating for doesn't happen and you're the leader of it. Revolutions don't happen on the first try every time, but there's a lot of people who are like, well, it should happen on the first try, and they'll start to knock you down. You have to have resilience and know who you are in the work that you're doing and have a close enough in-person group of folks to build you back up from those failures, because it'll eat you alive. And what you need to recognize is sometimes you are just the closest thing to power that person has access to, and they're just trying to throw their rock and be heard, and they're not going to hit the president. They're going to hit under the desk news, right? And I've come to recognize that sometimes that's most of the time when I get criticism, people are like, oh, I didn't think you would see it. You were the closest thing I could throw a rock at, and I was mad, and you have power, and I was mad. And I'm like, okay, you know what I mean? That totally makes sense. So don't take all of it to heart like that, because I've done things where I like take all of that on me and just paralyzes you to being able to do anything at all. Sometimes you're just the closest authority they can get their hands on to yell at. And that's okay too. That's part of the work too.
And also a lot of times when people like something, they don't comment that they like it. They just do like it and move on, you know? Right. And so it's like, I think that's
and not everybody's going to care about everything. So you got to pick what it is. And I've gotten some heat for that too. They're like, oh, you're so good at getting stuff done. Why don't you do XYZ things? I'm like, because I did ABC things, and I can only carry so much water, and you have to protect that. I've been an advocate for labor, for food, and for gay people for my whole life, okay? It's as much as I want to pick up other things, I'm not going to be able to carry that water and my own. So it's about finding other people who are the expert at that particular thing and then lending them your support. So now I watch their stuff, I boost their stuff, I direct people to them, because you don't need to be like the, Superman of all activism everywhere and perfect at everything. You just got to know where you fit in. And when you're not the expert, who to direct people towards.
Yeah, but that intersection does bring power, because then we're all supporting each other.
Exactly, wow. Yeah.
Well, this has been such a great conversation, V. Thank you so much for taking the time while here at CES to do this podcast with us, and really appreciate all the activism, the tremendous work, and the support that you help generate for us and continue to. So
of course.
thanks again. And we'll look forward to continuing to watch Under the Desk News and, of course, checking out the American Fever Dream podcast as well.
Yep, because next up, we got to fight the AI. I want agency and autonomy, Duncan, and we're going to do it together.
There we go. With that, I think that's got to be the final word. Till the next SAG-AFTRA podcast. The SAG-AFTRA podcast is produced and edited by Aaron Goddard and John Small. Supervising producers are Pamela Greenwald, Shira Reich, and Michael McNulty, with production and marketing support from Damon Romine, Jolie Cocante, Delaney Howard, Margot Giordano, Joe Mulgado, May Wong. The podcast is hosted by yours truly, Duncan Crabtree Ireland.